If you are in a different space, either physically, mentally, spiritually, or energetically, please keep watching. This video is for us. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kaylin, and this is my first official intro video on YouTube. And I'm gonna tell you why it's my last and final return here to YouTube, because I have been flirting with YouTube for about 2-3 years now, and let's just say we ain't going nowhere. There's nowhere else to go because we have finally arrived to the space that we've been waiting for. I am now awakening to my dharma, to my life's purpose, which is back to our inner light. I have hosted a podcast called Catalyst for 4 years. I sunsetted that podcast. It's still available for you to listen online, where I share mini episodes, 20 minutes or less, with a mindful message and end with a guided meditation and healing sound bath. But I realize now my dharma is calling me to storytell, to teach, to not only guide you back to your heart center, but stay a while there. Let's see what's really coming up, what is really being awakened within us, to dive deeper and step in to our power. And that has been a journey that I've been on this past year. Everybody says that you shed skins, you peel back the layers, you let go, you released, but in the same time it brought us back to our true self, our inner light, the pieces of ourselves that we always knew existed, but we silenced them, we dimmed them, we played small, because that's what the world told us to do. And my journey this year taught me that by taking me back to the very first people who shaped my story here on earth, which were the parents that I chose. Growing up in a broken home, my parents divorced when I was 6 years old, and when I was 13, I got taken from my hometown of New York City, where I lived in the Bronx, and to Canada. And that really disrupted my whole world, and it allowed me to take on different personalities, put on different masks in order to survive. And I'm at a point in my life now where I needed to go back and uncover those layers, to see where it all began, to go back and experience again what shaped me. You would see on my channel, I took you back with me when I moved back to New York. I took you with me through some fun moments in my life, and there's so much more to come. However, there has been about a 4-month gap in my posting here on YouTube where I was just getting it together, okay? Because life brought me back to point zero, like a clean slate. After I returned back home and reconnected with my dad, it wasn't the happy ending to the story that I thought it would be. In fact, I got my heart broken, and it wasn't the type of heartbreak that you experience from a stranger in a romantic relationship. It was one that cuts deeper, because it cuts through to your inner knowing. It forced me to look at a new layer of myself and really take radical responsibility for my life. And 2025 is really that year where all of the wounds, all of the shadows, all of the old skins are coming up to the surface for us to shed, for us to release it once and for all. Because moving forward, for you and me, life is not going to be the same. And the story kind of halted here on YouTube, but it continued on my podcast, my new podcast, which is getting a rebrand. So I'm just going to drop the link in the description box, where I shared all about the root, rupture, and the rise that I took myself through this year, going back to the root, going back to my hometown of New York City, the rupture moment that was caused when I had to leave, and the rise that came from it when I awakened to my true power. And when I think about this year, there's so much that I experienced and that I will continue to storytell, you know, from navigating the streets of New York again, to going condo shopping in Canada, to deepening my romantic relationship and the partnership that I'm growing with my partner, to reconnecting with my family again, my mom, my brother, my stepdad, my bonus dad, who's my real dad, and just simply being present in life. And the string throughout all these experiences, and why I'm so excited to bring them to you here on YouTube, is because it all reflects back to me my inner light, that inner knowing that I spoke about at the beginning, where it's sort of like you start off following the breadcrumbs of what excites you, what lights you up. For me, for example, you would have seen me follow the breadcrumb to move back to New York, to reconnect with my dad, to have a solo day in Long Island, to visit a a spa and chat up the owner, to walking into certain condos and not liking the vibe until we follow the breadcrumb to one that we really loved, to asking my mom questions about the way that she cooks her food and the way that she carries our culture through in her everyday life. You know, these are all different pieces of my life that I've captured, just some of many, that reflect back to me the things that light me up, the things that are part of my purpose, the things that make me dharma led. You know, like when you follow these little curiosities of ours and we are attracted to certain people, or attracted to certain behaviors, or attracted to certain characteristics, they aren't just random. They're part of our soul's remembrance, because we are all here to remember who we truly are. We're all waking up. 2025 showed us the ways that we're waking up to the conditioning, the programming, the matrix, the boxes that we've placed around ourselves, knowingly or unknowingly. Look around us. Systems are being challenged. The world that we know it is changing at rapid speeds, and you either keep up or you get left behind. There's a saying that we say in the corporate world or in the business world: evolve or die. You gotta change with the times. And there comes a point in our life where we do need to take responsibility to break out of those boxes, those social constructs, and return back to our inner light. Remember our unique purpose here on this earth. And knowing that I am a bridge between the ancient world and modern day wisdom, education, and business, this is my soul's work. To be that bridge, to be the embodiment of change, to guide other souls who are ready to take the plunge into their path of dharma too. And I don't just do that like any other coach. My transformation and my specialty has been really sitting in the discomfort of the in-between, where we're not where we were and we're not yet where we're going. We're in that liminal space that we often try to rush through to get to the other side for the certainty, but in that in-between is where the greatest transformation lives. My life this year has been the greatest in-between, because I've never fully arrived in that place where I felt fully comfortable. As human beings, we are often in the pursuit of one thing to the next. The way in which we get to that thing, I don't see that being talked about a lot, because look at social media, look at the internet. The only come up stories that we hear about are the celebrities and the ones who have quote unquote made it. But for the rest of us, for example, for any spiritual entrepreneurs out here, that in between is where we collect all of that wisdom, where we oftentimes learn to thrive, because nothing is certain in that world. And so instead of focusing on the end point or the end goal of the transformation that we often are undergoing, I like to shed light on who we become in the process. And my second podcast, the sequel to Catalyst, is currently called Catalyst to Bloom. That might change soon because I see that podcast developing into its own identity and doesn't really need to stay the same like I thought it did, carrying on the Catalyst name. And in that journey alone, and realizing that I am allowed to evolve past an old identity, that unlocked so much pure potential for me. Because it's more than about my podcast, it's about me as a person. I have been identifying with so many little parts of my identity that kept me small. For example, different roles as the eldest daughter of immigrant parents, as an entrepreneur, as an older sister, as a girlfriend, so many different roles that could keep us in a box. Whereas when we remove that, allow ourselves to expand beyond, allow ourselves to be in different environments, in different countries, in different cities, in different communities, that is where we collect the pieces of our identity and honor our wholeness. Because it's not just one thing that identifies us, it is our collection of experiences that really shines light on who we are, our multidimensionality, our pure potentiality, and allows us to evolve and share our truths. So aquí in Mexico is where I really was able to integrate all of this year, fully let go and, sit in the loss of everything. I even started my bleed here on this land, and it just kind of took me out of my hometown, took me out of all the spaces that I've been in this year, and really sit with the remembrance, sit with the loss. And on our first night here, shout out to Justin Timberlake and Timbaland, that track, Dead and Gone, it was blaring through the speakers, and I jumped up on the chair and I was singing it at the top of my lungs. And my younger brother, who's 15, he was kind of like, is she good? And my boyfriend told him, like, you know, this was her year. This was her year of saying goodbye, putting a death to those old parts of her, and the Omi's dead and gone, and Animi's gonna be all right. In creating a YouTube channel, I'm really trying to call in my people, the ones who resonate with all of the things that I've shared so far, maybe entrepreneurs who are also spiritual and going deep into their spiritual awakening in the process of building the businesses, sharing their stories, and just to give life to the people who feel like there aren't people like them, or feel like they're alone in their journey, or are really thugging it out through the in-between, waiting for that clarity to land. Well, I'm here to help you see the way through that clarity, because I'm not sure if it ever fully lands. It's up to us to decide what that journey can look like, can feel like, and when we decide to find joy in it. And I'm someone who the word joy was very foreign to me growing up. I look at pictures of my younger self, and maybe I'll pop a few here, where, you know, I really didn't see any life in my eyes. And I had purposely chose paths as an adult that would challenge me, the path of least, or the path of most resistance, you can say, that would challenge me and push me to grow, just so that I could meet myself on deeper layers. And again, during those times, I look at photos of myself and I didn't know how to smile. Like, the life that I knew was dying and a new me was taking birth. And I knew that in the moment. And that's why I say I'm speaking to the person who knows that they are meant for more, who is rising into their leadership, and who wants to lead themselves to their next evolution, because they know where you're at right now is not where the story ends. It's not how the story ends. And you have that within you to seek your people, your community. And so here's me waiting to connect with my own too, because I have so much wisdom, stories, and so much here that I have to say, and that comes from my heart, for my entire lineage. Because I received the message very clearly, and you can hear it on my new podcast, Catalyst to Bloom. I have a 3-part series called Rupture, Rise, where I take you through the journey of awakening to my power, of really becoming ready to rise. And that is when it became so clear to me that my purpose here on this earth is so much bigger than just me, myself, and I. It's a collective movement, first and foremost for my lineage, because I know each time I speak, I liberate generations of women and men that came before me, who survived, endured for me to be here today, to speak, to use my voice, to make the choices that they were unable to make. And so much of what I do is for my lineage and for the future to come. Because like I said, we as human beings, there's no coincidence that you and I are here together today on this earth, and that you're tuning into this video. Something here caught your eye. Maybe you've been rocking with me for a while on social media, on my podcast. Maybe the title of this segment caught your eye. Not sure what it was, but there's no coincidences, because we are truly here to usher in this new earth, and the new earth needs new leaders. We see that the way the world is going right now, with the amount of crises and climate change and all these things that are happening, newness is coming to be rebirth. We are entering a powerful new cycle, and I see my role in that, and I know that you are here to join me in that. So I'm speaking to the one who has taken the steps to learn who they are, has invested in the self-help, has worked with coaches, mentors, taking different pivots in their career or their life path, and are now coming back to themselves, where maybe some paths were misaligned and they didn't really speak to the truth of your being. Or maybe you are now setting out on that journey to discover who you really are, and you want to do so from a rooted place. Because I know what it's like to seek out the help, but end up being heavily influenced by that help or that mentor or that teacher that we seek out. And I realized that the reason I'm able or allowed myself to be heavily influenced or even outsource my power to somebody else is because I wasn't whole and honest with myself within. I started to seek external validation in my life from a very young age, because I experienced a lot of turmoil and trauma in my younger years. My parents first started separating when I was 3, officially divorced when I was 6, and I moved around the city of New York between Queens, Bronx, and eventually moved here to Canada, where I experienced so many identity shifts, so many death and rebirths, and that's why I can speak so honestly, so transparently, and so passionately about the in-between, because it was in those in-between moments, in between the moves, in between the deaths, in between making a big decision, in between each milestone, that I really built the resilience and the person that you see today. I plan to share some either segments on the podcast or YouTube videos about this, just around the signs where I was spiritually in tune. We all are, but I was aware of it from a very young age. And growing up, this has just manifested into me embodying all parts of myself. The witchy side, the baddie side, the educational side, the corporate side, the business, the entrepreneur. There are so many facets of me that I'm so excited to share with you, because for far too long I've kept them private. I've played small, I've dimmed my light for the sake of being liked. And I was touching on it earlier when I was saying from a very young age, I had this pattern of seeking external validation, because since my childhood was so tumultuous and the world around me was constantly shifting and changing, I looked to my mom, who raised me as a single mom. I looked to her to tell me how to feel, tell me what was safe, when I could breathe, when I was safe, unsafe, when I could be happy, what was best for me. And her voice became my inner voice. And it took me a while to really sit with that and unpack that. And I think now I'm at a place standing fully in my own skin, because so many layers have been shed this year. And it wasn't just a matter of saying, okay, I know where this happened now, I can move forward. No, there's a process that has to happen on a cellular and energetic level for us to be able to shed that frequency and then have a safety to step in to the next skin, to step into our next frequency. And that process right there is the one that I'm so passionate about, and the one that I love to guide people through, because it's full of the nuances, it's full of the synchronicities, it's full of the magic and the seeds of our transformation. And that is truly the moments where I tapped back into my authentic self. So that's why today I can speak so confidently for not only my present day self, but that little girl at 3 years old who always believed in the magic of the world around her, who always believed in she was worthy of a pure, peaceful life with a love and a partner who is just so abundant and giving, and her dreams are coming to life now. So when I sit here in this YouTube channel talking to you, calling in my people, I'm calling in all versions of you. That little girl, that grown self, the one who knows that they have more to give and more to honor and more to step into in their life. Here we are, and I'm so glad you're here, because we are about to go on the journey of our lifetime together. On this channel, you'll not only hear these reflections and stories from my own life, you'll also receive tips, tools, and mindset shifts to guide you through the in-between on your path of your own leadership. Because if you're here, you're meant to lead, whether that's your family, your kids, your team, your office, your city. Who knows? You are here to lead, because I speak to the leader in all of us who knows that they are ready to rise, who knows that maybe the pieces around them or around you aren't quite clicking, and you know there's more for you to uncover, whether within yourself or within the world around you. So here you can find those stories to help you shift those mindsets, and you'll also see more in-depth looks at my life, because I'm coming up to a very exciting chapter in my life. Next year is going to be huge. Calling it in right now. Thank you. And I'm going to take you with me. The world is ready for the new wave of leaders to rise, for a new wave of resilient leaders to rise. Rise of the resilient leaders. We are here, honey. So strap in, buckle up, hit subscribe, and let's go. We are here to rise. It's our time. No more playing small. And even if you do, I'll be here to remind you where we're going, because there's no turning back once you awaken to your power. And like I said, there's a 3-part series on my podcast that I'll link below, where you'll hear exactly what that journey was like for me, and I know you'll see yourself in it too. And it might sound dramatic, but I did it. I wrote out a timeline of the first 30 years of my life. Every major moment that happened. And the through line that I found was magic, because it just shows me how so many times in my life, everything that I knew was taken away, was broken down. And my strength, my power, my dharma was in rebuilding myself from a more authentic place each time. And so that's why I can sit here in front of this camera and say this return to YouTube would be my last return, because I'm returning as myself. I'm here as myself. I finally arrived in what I know to be true for me, not for anybody else. And so that is truly magic, really, for somebody who is constantly stripped of what they know and can now stand firmly in the truth of their being and share that with the world. Is really special to me, and it makes me emotional in a grounded sense, in a finally and here, that thing that I've been searching for. There's no more searching, because we've arrived, we've connected back to that inner light. I bundled this all up in a very fun way to share with you, which is through my inner light experience, which is a self-led, so you go through it at your own pace, but also a fully guided experience of me guiding you through journaling prompts, guided meditation, visualizations, and crafting your own scrapbook pages to connect back to your inner light, going back to where it all began. Talk to me like I'm your longtime friend who is rooting for you with all the experiences you experienced as a child, the people that you grew up with, the things that you love to do. This is a space in the inner light experience where you get to reconnect with all of that, see it physically in front of you in the form of photos, videos, scents, stickers, whatever calls to you, whatever reminds you of your childhood. See that all on paper and have that as a living memory of who you were before the world told you who to be. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'm gonna leave the link again in the description box, and I hope to see you in that space, because inner light experience is really the journey that I took myself through when I was, coming back home, physically, literally, energetically, to this new space, and reconnecting with that part of my innocence, my childlike wonder, joy, love. That's truly the first inkling to connect back to your inner light, ultimately to be dharma led. So thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you in all of the spaces, Inner Light Experience, on the podcast, on Instagram, and here on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I'll see you in the next one. Namaste. Okay, hola, hola. Por las vibras. A little bit for you. Alright, if y'all see this hair sticking up, it's because your girl had a bald spot from when she got her box braids in earlier this year, but we're going back, and that's why I have this little cowlick here.